Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up for you today. We got Polysign, BNY Mellon, Caitlin Long, Stellar and Smart Contracts. We got news on the SEC versus Ripple. We got clips from Swift Sidebos you need to hear. And guess what? We got wild speculation about a secret meeting with Ripple. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Let's take a look at these numbers real quick here. $961 billion market cap for crypto, ladies and gentlemen. CoinPeprika, download the app here. Let's take a look at it. Bitcoin, 19,100 plus. Ethereum, 1,200 plus. Almost 1,300 bucks. We see XRP at 48 cents right now. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's get started. Just to let everybody know, the motion was granted, or the filing was granted, however you want to say it, for the leave for iRemit and TapJets, which is really Ripple customers, to file their amicus brief, granted by Judge Torres. And guess what else? Eleanor Tarrant, straight here from Fox Business, tells us Judge Torres has now approved the 3 third parties to join the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. The Digital Chamber of Commerce remains neutral, but stresses the importance of the court decision for the industry. 2 are pro-Ripple XRP, and I'm told at least 3 more Ripple XRP advocates will file soon. How about that one, ladies and gentlemen? Who could it be? This is linked to, ladies and gentlemen, my sponsor, and I love being a customer. And by the way, full disclosure, I just bought more Ripple. Not financial advice, but that's what I did. Yeah. And you may want to check them out, ladies and gentlemen. Right here, they have Ripple, and when it's available, Polysign, keep your eyes peeled. We got some news on that front in the general news this morning as well, and so many other great products. Do not mess around. If you're accredited, don't fool around. Get your verification done, and make sure you have an opportunity to participate. Look right here. This is from Riz. Shout out to Riz. It says, building the future of digital assets. Tim Keeney, Vice Chairman, retired Vice Chairman of BNY Mellon, head of asset processing global markets, led organizations of 25,000 people responsible for custodying 25% of global institutional assets. I'd be smiling like Tim too. He should be. It's a hell of a responsibility. You can see here, world's largest custodian bank, BNY Mellon, launches crypto custody services. You know, one has to wonder, right, if that connection goes much deeper than it is on the surface. You know, I mean, you're a person away there. I think it's just incredible what is going to happen with Polysign. I'm so very excited to learn more and more about it. Perry Ann says here, this is a huge development. Many years in the making. Getting the banking regulators comfortable with crypto has been a significant undertaking. Banks will serve as an important component to the mass adoption of Bitcoin and crypto. I believe it too. Cody Carbon says here, congrats to Digital Chamber member BNY Mellon for their news that they're officially entering into the crypto custody space. Game changer. And I do believe it is a game changer as well. And just to remind everybody, if you didn't see it there in the first thing, obviously Tim Keeney is a member and board member of Polysign and came from BNY Mellon. BNY Mellon custodying. Are they working together? I don't know, but it wouldn't be a surprise to find out if they were, would it? This is Caitlin Long reacting to that news at DC FinTech Week, for which the MC is right here, Dr. Brummer, who is a brilliant guy, and I'm so glad we have access to him in this space. Take a listen to this clip here.
And it gets to the question of whether crypto truly is risky within the traditional banking system and the connectivity, because there was a major announcement this morning, which is that Bank of New York Mellon, which is, I believe, the largest bank in the United States by assets, has officially now entered Bitcoin custody. And the interesting question that is raised by that is that they are a bank holding company that is regulated by supervised by the Federal Reserve. My company, as you know, has a lawsuit against the Federal Reserve, and I am about to make some news. You will see a filing from my company in that lawsuit pertaining to the announcement this morning, because the Federal Reserve filed filings last week talking about the risk to the financial system from crypto. And then today, a Federal Reserve supervised bank holding company enters crypto. We've been waiting for 2.5 years to do that. And look what the Fed actually said last week versus what it did today.
Well, no one's ever accused DC FinTech Week of having too many shy people not.
That's for damn sure. And you know what? I could tell, I don't know Caitlin Long personally, but I mean, it is clear to me that she's not upset. She's not frustrated. She's not angry. She's incensed. And it appears that on every level, she's got a right to be. Because what does this look like to me? It looks like exactly what we've talked about from this channel for years now. That this is all about setting the stage for the largest banks and participants in the world that have been watching their customers go across the street to this crypto game, now getting into the game first and suppressing all others, it would appear, while they get their nets in the water to scoop it all up. I tell you, can't make it up. This is a very exciting news. Stellar just announced at Meridian 2022, Soroban is live on FutureNet for the first time ever, which means smart contracts, baby.
Soroban is live on FutureNet.
You damn right, Woo. That is huge business right there. Soroban brings a whole new kind of smart contract platform to the market, one that is designed with purpose, built to perform and combined with the power of Stellar Network, and will drive use cases built around expanding access to financial services. Very, very exciting. Danelle Dixon echoes the same thing right here. So cool that she just watched Paul Bellamy of Stellar launch the first smart contract herself. That is pretty remarkable stuff. Congratulations to everybody there. Digital Pound Foundation adds Ripple partner Modular Finance as a member. Susan Friedman, head of public policy at Ripple, is also a board member at Digital Pound Foundation. Ripple joined the foundation as a member in October of 2021, coming up on the year anniversary for them. How exciting is that, ladies and gentlemen? Ripple's partner in Europe becomes the member in its modular finance. Now, remember, we just had some news yesterday about Paris with Lemonway and Xbot services in Sweden and France. Things are moving if you're watching the right news, I'm telling you, and not just price. Japan's finance minister in the legacy world, what matters is the speed with which FX moves. FX obviously being money market, right? Currencies exchanging hands. Speeding up what we have covered here a year or two ago. Maybe I need to do a video on it again. On the velocity of money. The faster the velocity of money, then the less amount of capital you need to hold dormant in your account. That is a very, very real situation, especially coming off of the pandemic. This is another great clip here. Yawar Shah from Swift talking about very, very key things that we've heard for many, many, many years with Ripple and its interoperability, baby. Remember, Swift has instant messaging, not instant payments and settlement. They can do instant message and payment, but not instant settlement, unless they're using some third party to get it done. Keep that in mind as you listen.
Swift also plays a vital role in identifying and evaluating emerging technologies and their business implications. We have a chief financial officer and an entire innovation team solely focused on this. And their work is even more important than ever before at this pivotal stage in the financial services digital transformation. We are innovating in multiple areas to anticipate how we can help you adapt and adopt different forms of value with a focus on interoperability. SWIFT is working across the industry with banks, central banks, market infrastructures, and regulators on numerous proofs of concept, and is closely examining emerging trends in areas such as central bank digital currencies, tokenized assets, where we just announced some breakthrough work, and a link to market infrastructures to explore how it can support interoperability and enable the seamless flow of value. Of course, none of us alone can figure out the future.
And none of us alone can solve the problem with just one thing. That's a very important point to take away from this too. Interoperability. And if we're going to see all of this new digital revolution and settlement with digital assets, it's going to need to come with some legislation and certainly clarity and real regulation about what they are and how they're treated. And that is going to come from the White House to regulate stablecoin and Bitcoin market and launch a CBDC very quickly. Just a highlight out of this here. It talks, they're talking in this particular article to Jason Brett, hosted by Bitcoin Magazine, featuring Jason Brett here. It says they elaborated on the strategy of the White House related to regulation on the crypto market. It says Jason Brett stated that the White House has just taken a conclusive report made by Financial Stability Oversight Council. Look, over 2 years I've been talking about FSOC. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are river dancing on top of this thing. Get out your tap dance shoes, ladies and gentlemen. We are all over the top of this thing. It does go on to talk about not only stablecoin and CBDCs, but remember the exchanges. He added that one of the chief points is that an additional push will potentially be witnessed towards the regulation of exchanges as more attention would be given to the affiliates and subsidiary of exchange venues under the span of the regulators. How about that? And then there's Jeremy Allaire's take on this too when it comes to stablecoin bill drafted by the Financial Services Committee here. If we go into this very quickly, it's a stablecoin bill drafted by the House Financial Services Committee is the country's best shot to compete in digital dollar currency, says Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire. He would know. I have often said I believe the USD coin is the unofficial, soon to be official retail digital dollar, maybe even becomes the CBDC for the United States, but I do believe it'll certainly be the retail-facing digital dollar at best, or at the very least. We see that happening. Remember, they have been working with USD Coin to get it on all the relevant major protocols. Very, very key, important fact. And if you do, and it becomes highly regulated, highly trusted, then in fact, the majority of liquidity moving on all those relevant, most used protocols will be going in and out of USD coin, which will then be easy to regulate this market once you have the most trusted stable coin and the liquidity going through it, wouldn't it? Absolutely it would. Again, Financial Stability Oversight Council, ladies and gentlemen, senior regulators for which Gary Gensler is on as well. The move could give the legislation new momentum for Congress. Coming from the Treasury here, believes that there is a role for stablecoins in the financial ecosystem, but they said they could look like banking products from a regulatory perspective. If it looks like a bank deposit, if it actually works like a bank deposit, then it should be regulated like a bank deposit. Banks are at different stages of the internal discussion around stablecoins. BIS is not here to foist some kind of agenda, but will point out what's feasible. Banks are at different stages of internal discussion, different stages in domestic debate. I think there's a role for stable coins in this ecosystem, and so do I. I think you're going to see it sooner rather than later. I'm looking for 2023, barring some black swan event between now and the end of the year. This is a reminder that as we move towards this interoperability, this movement of speeding up the FX currency market, cross-border payments, settlement of derivatives and clearing houses, we may also see a paradigm shift going back to a gold standard for fiat dollars and obviously for the stable coins and CBDCs that represent them. This bill was introduced. I covered it the other day. It hasn't been revealed yet what all the details are to the bill, but we will follow it very closely. I do believe if we are going to see a paradigm shift in the monetary system, it will need to have gold to shore it up. There's no question about it. I do believe that, and we'll keep an eye on that as well. Now, this is real speculation right here, but boy, I tell you what, this is really, really interesting here. I want you to listen to this gentleman tell you about the phone call he had with someone. It is quite compelling and obviously speculation all the way, but nonetheless, it is worth you taking a listen to. Check it out.
Hey, I've got two things that hit me really hard about Bob and I's conversation this morning. Number one, he doesn't know anything about XRP. He doesn't know anything about XLM. The only thing he knows is that he's meeting with a company called Ripple. Give you a little background on who Bob is. He's a market maker. Those of you who know what market makers are, most of them on the retail level all create liquidity for the market. They grease the wheel for the bid, ask, and offer market to keep the market moving and flowing. I don't want to get too deep into that, but that's what he does. He does it on a completely different, higher level. He does it not internationally, but he does it on a global liquidity market that is really important to keep the world's economies moving. He would explain it totally different, but I'm trying to keep it in layman's terms here for you guys, for all of us, not just you guys, me as well. He was notified last week that they'd be meeting in a couple of weeks with a company called Ripple. He didn't know anything about Ripple. Like most of us, he thought it was a wine. I told him, no, that's the parent company of XRP. He goes, well, I've heard of XRP. I don't know what it does or what it is. I know they're in some kind of lawsuit. I said, yeah, we've talked about that before, Bob. He's like, yeah, okay. What do you know about what's happening? And he said, well, I know that we're going to provide liquidity for what they said is a new market that they're forming. And I thought, a new market? And he said, yeah, it's not a retail market, it's more of a public market. I was like, a public market? Wow. A CBDC? And he said, I don't know what that is exactly. What is that? And I'm like, a central bank digital currency? He said, no, that can't be it. I said, well, why don't you believe that could be it? He said, well, we don't deal with the central banks. I'm like, well, have you floated liquidity or created liquidity for markets internationally with any kind of digital? Yeah, digital money and this and that. And I said, who'd you do that with? Oh, we only work when we work with a government level, we only provide liquidity for the Treasury Department. Yeah.
How about that for the Treasury Department? And we've been talking for over 2 years about FSOC and the Treasury Department. I have to wonder, because I've wondered and speculated many times on this channel, what happens to the XRP escrow? How important is the XRP escrow? And will Ripple remain the steward of the XRP escrow? And if they do, will they have to become a bank to do so? I don't know if this gentleman's right, but I certainly appreciate him sharing his call and his insights. And this is obviously speculation. It's what we do here. It is not financial advice. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.